welcome to the League of Unreasonably Confident Women, a show where we uplift the voices of those who've had the audacity to authentically, boldly, and unapologetically love the shit out of themselves. My name is Carissa Lynn Renner. I am your hostess, and today I have a guest I'm really excited to share with you. She's a life coach. She is a decluttering coach, which I'm really excited to talk about. It's perfect spring cleaning time. She works on teaching people how to manifest things as well as podcasting herself. So we're going to be speaking just in a moment with Charlotte Kaye. I'm so excited to introduce you. And in the meantime, make sure if you're enjoying the show, if you are finding value in it, that you share it with a friend, leave a comment so we can know you're here, so we can interact with you, and feel free to join me inside the Facebook group. You can search for the League of Unreasonably Confident Women. So with no further ado, I'm going to bring on Charlotte Kaye, and we will meet her and see what her magic is all about. Awesome. Hi, Charlotte.
Hello.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fan-freaking-tastic. It's great to see you. Let me go ahead and you said, I want to just share your quote because I really liked it, and it really hits on the way that I kind of came up with the title for this show was just that idea of like, it's not reasonable to be that confident if you think about it. So I'm going to share your quote, which is, being unreasonably confident is knowing and loving yourself, refusing to let others bring you down. Unfortunately, a normal level of confidence feels unreasonable to a lot of women. So let's all be unreasonable. And I really liked that because, yeah, it is like, it's kind of, we're almost programmed to not feel good enough about ourselves through marketing and all the other things. Would you like to speak to that just a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I think, when I went to college, I sort of joked before I went to college that I was like, I'll just be a women's studies major. Ha ha ha. Because, what do you do with that? And how do you have a job and like all these things? So, but then I got to college and I took a women's studies class and I was like, oh shit. I think I'm going to be a women's studies major. And I think, that time in my life really showed me why there is so much effort put into, making women believe they're not good enough. And essentially it's so that we buy shit. It's so that, we let other people control us. We let our confidence depend solely on other people praising us, right? And I'm not saying only women have this, but there are arguments to be made that more so for women, this is a thing. And, so it just a normal level of confidence. It's like we've been programmed to believe we're bragging or we're full of ourselves or we're cocky or whatever, when actually we can just be logical about the things that we're good at. I have a friend who was talking about like, why is it so hard to like toot your own horn? And I'm like, it's not bragging to say I'm good at this thing, because all of us are good at things that other people in the world are not good at. So we need to like acknowledge the skills and talents that we have so that we can actually do them, because it doesn't hurt my feelings that she's really fucking good at graphic. Can I swear?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. That she's really good at graphic design and I hate graphic design. Like I have no interest. So for her to say I'm better at graphic design than some others, I'm like, thank whoever, because I don't want to do it. So please let me pay you to do it. Right.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my husband and I get into this every once in a while because I've also been in this, I think in the coaching space, it's one of the paradigms we're trying to undo, right? Which is like, celebrate yourself. And we're like encouraging people to brag and say, here's my brag for the day. This is my win. This is what I made happen. I'm proud of this. And so every once in a while, I'll say something to my husband and be like, I'm really good at my job, and he'll be like, oh yeah, you're really humble too. And I'm like, no, I am. That's like a truth. It's not just like, there's a difference from coming from that ego mind place, and the difference between that and like humbly knowing that you have magic in certain areas, and also being really willing to admit the ones that maybe aren't that area. So I
laughed because that's like what my mom used to say. I would like say something and she would always go, and so modest too. And I was like, yeah, I have no interest in being modest, but it doesn't help your clients for you to be modest. It doesn't help the people that you work with for you to be modest, like to step up and say, I'm good at this thing. Let me do this. This is my strength, right? Like I can support with this, that only helps everyone around you.
So good. So tell us a little bit about where you are in life, like April 2021. What's life look like for you right now? Obviously, we've got a new world we're sort of emerging into.
Yeah.
Where are you and what's life like?
Yeah, life is interesting. I actually recently, so I have my business, and for a good part of last year, I was really focused on the coaching, the life coaching piece of my business, because that's the part that I've been doing remotely for the whole time. But in January, I really felt this shift towards the decluttering piece of my business. So that's sort of been a focus. But then I also had this other shift where I almost got a full-time job. And I actually now am about to get a part-time job, but it's through my business. It's very interesting. Anyways, as I was doing that, I was like, okay, I could have this full-time job, and then my business would be my side hustle, which I hate the word hustle.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, not into it. But I also was like, it's not even like a side. I'm like, my life is the main course, if you will, and it's like this job and my business, and these are like ways that I do things that I like that make me money. They are like the side dishes, right? Like, so that's been an interesting space to be in, because I think I've not always, but for a good long while now, as I've been on my own personal development journey, I see I've got my priorities straight in terms of like work. For a little while after I graduated college was everything. I pretty quickly fell out of that. But now even more so, I'm just like, my friends are more important to me than any way that I make money. Like, my dog is more important to me than any way that I make money, and not to say that we can't have a lot of money and money isn't important, but I think for me, it's just been like an even further reprioritization of like, because I think I started with being in the working world. I did fundraising for about 6 years. And I thought like that was kind of my whole identity. And then I shifted to my business, and I'm like, okay, now I'm an entrepreneur, and like I get to create this. So it has to be my everything now, right? Because no one's telling me what to do. I'm choosing 100%. But then I also realized that like, neither one of those are my everything. Like, I'm like me, my identity, who I am, what I like, that's my everything. And neither of these things has to be the most important thing in my life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs do fall into that trap where we create this business so that we don't have to work for the man, and then we turn into the man. And we pack our schedules, and we eat, sleep, breathe, work, and there's no quality of life. So I think that's kind of one of those, I feel like it's a season many people have to go through who live this sort of lifestyle, because it does take a lot of work on the front end of a business, or on the back end. I don't know which end, but the beginning, beginning stages are quite a bit of work and time and manpower and brain power and energy. And you have to like really build it out. And that takes manual labor. I think, when we see these coaches preaching about free space and making money while you sleep and all those things, like, I'm finally in a place in my business where that happens, where I can take a nap and wake up to see some income that just showed up. But it took building something to get there. It's not magic,
Yeah.
And we're going to talk more about manifesting with you in just a little bit, because I think that's one of those myths about manifesting, is that it's like, it's just magic. Like, shit falls out of the sky and knocks you upside the head, and it's just there. And it's like, no, you're missing part of the equation there. But before we do that, let's talk about, what does a decluttering coach do? And is this tied into your life coaching, or are those separate entities?
Yeah. So I think of decluttering as like life coaching light. Like, you might not come to me thinking you're going to get coached when I help you like clear out your shit and organize your basement, but in fact, it all is very applicable. So I don't necessarily talk about that, but everyone that works with me gets coached somehow.
Well, that's your chocolate covered broccoli is the marketing term.
Yes.
You tell people what they think they want, and then you give them what they need.
Exactly.
Once you're in there.
Yeah, exactly. I do that with my life coaching too. Like, I just want to plan. So many people, I just want to plan. I want to know what's next. And I'm like, I'm just going to make you feel good and like your life, and then the plan won't matter. That's sort of. But when it comes to decluttering, I help people make decisions, essentially. So, and it's usually about their items. So I do virtual and I do in person, but either way, it's just like I help them with where to start, right? I help them just go through their physical things and like clear out a space. So a lot of people will start with like a basement, right? Like the land where things go to die, right? And so I sort of see my role as one, supporting them through the emotional part, because there is an emotional part. If there was no emotions tied to it, everyone would have perfectly organized, clean spaces, and they wouldn't care that they have a bunch of crap, right? So I help them with that part. And then I also see it as like taking as many decisions off of their plate as I can, because I don't actually decide what you keep or what you get rid of, but I can decide, start here. What about this? What about that? Okay, now this can go here and we can organize it like this, just to take the stress out of our homes. Because like there's enough stress available in life that you don't need your home to be a source of stress, especially now when so many of us are at home all the time.
Amen. It's the gym, it's the spa, it's the social corner, it's my office, all the
things.
Things.
Exactly.
And my little 1-bedroom apartment in San Diego does all those things marvelously. Who knew?
Yeah.
So, why is decision making so hard? Like, why is it so hard for us to choose?
Yeah.
Yes or no, chocolate or vanilla? Like, what makes that so hard?
Yeah, well, I'm a fairly decisive person, so I think just being around that energy sort of helps. But I think it's a lot of guilt. I spent money on this. Someone gave me this. I shouldn't have bought it if I was never going to wear it, like that kind of thing. It's a lot of, what will other people think, right? Like, especially if something's been gifted or something was passed down, like I can't get rid of it. There's also guilt around like putting things in the landfill. I live in a very kind of eco-conscious area. And I think more and more people are thinking about, their waste and that kind of stuff. So I think it's all that. And then I just think people are overwhelmed. Like if they haven't looked at it in a long time, they literally don't know where to start. My dog is wanting.
Your sound went away. But yeah, I'll speak to that while you figure that out. I think I'm curious, when you're back, let me know when you're back. Hello? No sound. Okay, cool. So my theories on that are very similar to yours. I mean, I completely agree. I think what other people will think of what you decide, especially not even just in decluttering, but in life decisions. Like, should I move? Should I take this job? Should we have Italian or Chinese for dinner? Like, it's like we consider other people before we really go into the core of ourselves. And, I think also, I'm somebody who has lost people in my life, and I was responsible for going through their things and deciding what to keep and what to get rid of. That was a really challenging time that I could have absolutely used some support from someone like you. But
I think I'm back, by the way.
Yes,
can you hear me?
You are back. You're
okay,
back.
Great.
Good. So what are some of those like key rules of thumb, I'd say? Like if you're looking at your stuff and you don't maybe have the resources to hire a coach, or you just want to get it done today and not have a consult, you're just like, what are some of the rules of thumb about what to keep and what to gift and et cetera?
Yeah, so I do a little bit of a play on Marie Kondo, Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. Her kind of question is, does this spark joy? And the reason I really love it, and I think the reason her method is so long-lasting as opposed to other methods, is it's entirely intuitive, right? So this is another way that like life coaching and decluttering totally go together, because what I'm really doing is helping people tap into their intuition of what to keep and what not to get rid of. So getting out of the space of what does other people think, overthinking how much money you spent on it. It's like, what does your gut say? And so for that, what I encourage people to do is think about, how do you want your space to feel? Like, how do you want to feel in your space, whether it's your whole house, whether it's one room, whether it's, your wardrobe, like how, like closing your eyes, visualizing, how do you want to feel when you walk into that space? And then using that as your guiding question for each individual item. So say you want your home you want to feel ease, right? Like you want to feel ease in your space. And it's everything you have. Like, does this item add ease to my life, right? Like, does this feel easy? Does it feel easy to just pick up this pair of pants and put it on? Like, does it this organizational thing make my life easier, right? And so then you just literally go through every single thing, which I highly encourage, and kind of put it against that question, you know? And I don't recommend a maybe pile. I'll just say that. Just decide.
Just get off the fence.
Yeah.
No waffles
or put your no pile in the basement for 2 months. You'll forget everything that was in there, and then you'll be able to let it go anyways. So
I like that too, because it is, and I do think there's also, I feel like, somewhat of a decision-making capacity that we reach at some point. Like, I just went through this with my mom. She likes to shop in malls. Like, you know, we're like the old generation of shopping where you go look at things and physical items. It's not online.
What? Weird.
Yeah, in stores, there's tags. You look at them. You try things on your body, you know. And yeah, I always do that with my mom, even though I kind of prefer to shop online now. And I like to shop alone also, because I just like to wander and I don't like to have to check in with people and like, how are you doing? Should we get a coffee? I'm just independent shopper. Yeah. And I know my mom really likes this, so I do it with her. And yeah, the other day we had been to a few stores and she kind of picked up this little clutch and she's like, do you like this? And I was like, I don't even know.
Yeah.
I've seen so much stuff at this point that like, I don't even know if I like that, because I've had like this decision-making fatigue. It's like, I've shopped, I'm done. That's it. And my mom was like, yep, you've reached the threshold. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think that's something I talk about all the time is decision fatigue, because in your own home, it's like, where do you want to spend your creative or decision-making energy? Like, do you want to, like, maybe you like cooking and that's where you're really creative. So like, let's make sure you have space for all the foods that you want to try and maybe all the appliances, right? But maybe when it comes to getting dressed in the morning, that's not where you want to spend your creative or decision-making energy. So maybe we simplify that. Like, what's your daily like uniform? For me, I have like one pair of pants, one pair of shorts, and then my tops change. And I just like don't even worry about that. So using the things in your home to help simplify, like, yeah, what are these decisions I need to make every day? Like, it gives you more energy and more creative space for other things.
That's so good. And in fact, it leads me so perfectly into the next question I want to ask you, which is, I really want to talk about the energetics of clearing space physically, mentally, spiritually. What does it mean when you clear space, and what happens? Like, what's the result of that in the human world?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I'm guessing your audience is kind of into this stuff, but for anyone who doesn't think the energetics exist, if you've ever decluttered or organized something and then you feel physically lighter afterward, like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you didn't lose any weight. Like, your body should not be feeling lighter. So then sort of the reverse is true, is when you aren't aware of what's in your space, your body's aware of that as well. It's like, we don't know what that black hole is, right? And so that sort of weighs on you. So something I always say, and I really stand by, is even if someone gets rid of nothing, but they go through every single thing in their home and know what they have and know where it is, like, you will have freed up some energy. There's also, you know, when it comes to manifestation, which we'll talk more about, but when it comes to manifestation, like, you can't manifest when you don't have space for something. Like, say you want a really amazing partner in your life, but you're with this sort of ho-hum partner that you're maybe settling for. Now, of course, you could have multiple partners if that's your thing, but if you're a one partner kind of person, it's going to make it harder for the universe to give you what you want when you haven't created the space for it. You know, I think the same is true in your physical space. Like, if you're holding on to this wardrobe of this past you that maybe had a different career or something like that, and you have all these old business suits, but you're like, I spent money on them, but you have no intention to ever want to wear a business suit ever again, like, get it the fuck out of there and make room for your fun, flowy dress, or like whatever it is, right? Like, you can't call things into your life if you don't have space for them. Just same thing with your, you know, your schedule. If your schedule is completely full, but you want to call in spontaneity and adventure, how is that going to happen?
It's so good. Yeah, I mean, I actually, it's so funny. As soon as I booked this interview with you, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go through my stuff, which I do pretty regularly, but it feels so good. And you know, I'm moving into a season of my life where I'd like to start a family soon. And I've been married for almost a year, coming up on a year. I'm a COVID bride. And, you know, we're living in this small little apartment. We'll probably move somewhere bigger. And it's like, just seeing all that on the horizon, I'm like, I need to get rid of stuff or like organize or pack a little bit. Otherwise, this is going to be so overwhelming and it's going to rob me of the joy of finding the next cool place we live or like decorating a nursery someday or, you know, like, so it's like, now I'm just really feeling called to do all of that work while I'm still like a single-bodied individual person.
Yes.
But also in manifestation, I mean, it's even, I did a challenge to manifest something a while back and I chose a seashell and it was like, where are you going to put your seashell? Like find the place for it, put it, like clear it off, dust it off, make a respectable place for it to go, not just like any old place, but like, you know, dust it and like visualize it there and think about how you're going to love seeing that seashell on your mantle or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely am a huge proponent of making sure you have space because space creates a vacuum, right? And vacuums attract. So let's keep talking about manifestation since we got here organically. We'll just let you vibe. And also you have a freebie for us too, right?
Yeah, so this is perfect timing. I'm doing a Learn How to Manifest workshop May 5th at 5 p.m. Free. It's in my Facebook group. And I shared the link with Carissa, so I'm sure she'll share it with all of you. Yeah, but we're going to, I know. I try to make it easy to remember, 5 at 5. And we're going to go over kind of the science and the magic behind manifestation. So I'm going to kind of go over law of attraction and some basics. And then I'm just going to take lots of questions because I want people, I feel like people have heard about it and they like kind of get it, but maybe haven't like really kind of solidified it in their life or their understanding. So it's going to be kind of like an academic class on manifestation. So I'm very excited.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, because it is. And this is kind of where we started our conversation is people, I think often when we hear the word manifestation, it's like something falls out of the sky and like hits you over the head. And it's like this like, oh, $1 million, woo. And it's like, no, there's this whole process. And what are some of the key points that it takes for someone to manifest something in your school of thought?
Oh boy. Well, let's start with the hardest ones. You have to stop caring. You have to realize that the things you think you want, you don't actually want them. You want the feeling you think they're going to give you. And that is really, it's one of the hardest, it's like that releasing resistance part, because if you're resistant to something, it can't come into your life. So say, you're trying to get pregnant, but in the back of your mind saying, we don't have space for a child. Like we don't have the space for, so it's about
we don't have a space for a child.
Yeah, so moving might happen first, right? But it's about realizing that anything we think we want is because we think it's going to make us feel a certain way. And usually that way is just better, better than you feel now, right? So it's about how do I shift my mindset? How do I add into my life things that give me that feeling now so I can be on the same frequency as the thing that I want, because that's how you get it, right? You have to match up. So that's a really fundamental thing. And then I think the other thing that is most challenging is releasing, right? Is like surrendering, or I like to think of it as like submitting to the universe, right? Is like letting go of the how, like not micromanaging the universe, because as much as there needs to be action taken, you want to wait until it feels inspired. And it might feel like it has nothing to do with your manifestation, but it totally could, because the universe is smarter than us, I believe. And while it might not make sense to our logical human brains, it is moving us one step closer. And like, if it makes you feel good, who cares either way, right? Like I really like planning. I was talking to a client about this. We're both Capricorn moons, so we're very into like making a plan. And I was like, what I have now learned is like making a plan is great just for the process of making a plan, because I like it. I like organizing, right? I like that kind of thing. If I never implement a single part of the plan, I don't care, because I enjoy the process of making the plan. The point is about how you feel now with what you're doing now, not to then enslave yourself to this spreadsheet.
But I said it was going to be this. Yeah, I mean, I agree, because interestingly enough, like I'm a very free spirit. I'm Sagittarius, and you know, I've got Aquarius and I want to say Libra are my moon and my rising. So like I'm a very free spirit, but structure, I'm also a generator in my human design type. So structure and creation of like grids and grid working is actually very soothing to me. So it's like kind of taming the beast of all those loose threads like floating in space and in my mind. It's like putting them, you know, into a grid. It feels great for me, even like you said, if it doesn't end up being that way, it puts me in a state of relaxation and ease versus stress and overwhelm. And I love what you said. I often say this too, about if it's not real, because I even up until the point when I started teaching manifestation was still holding on to this tiny bit of skepticism. Like, this is really out there, you know, like how is this any more real than anything else, right? And you know, I think you just have to kind of prove that to yourself over time. And that's the thing that I always come back to is like, even if this is a bunch of hogwash, if it's making me feel better about my space, who I am, how I dress, how I show up, and my confidence, who the hell cares? Like if it's made up, it doesn't matter, because the result is still moving forward toward a life that you've consciously created, that you've chosen instead of kind of fallen into.
Yes, that is like exactly how I do it also, because I started off very, very skeptical. So, you know, I like to dig into the science behind manifestation, because in essence, it's all self-fulfilling prophecy and like priming yourself to see the things you want to see, right? And then focusing on those, because then it'll feel like they're expanding. But I do occasionally just like ask the universe, like, give me this in like a surprising way, like a way I wouldn't think it would, because then you can sort of play with like, okay, maybe there is something bigger than the science behind it. Because I'm into Harry Potter, I'm into witch stuff, I think magic is fun. So I like that piece. And one of the funniest things I manifested, like, it's so silly, it was like a kiddie pool for like a dog. So I had one. I was seeing someone who wanted one, and it was like last summer when there were no outdoor kid stuff, like you weren't buying that stuff anywhere. And I was not intentionally trying to manifest it. I want to say a week or two later, my neighbor across the street put a kiddie pool out to the garbage.
Oh, you're kidding.
No. Like, so it's like those little ones that I'm like, okay, yeah, I can like, my brain can get behind the science of it, but also there are just these fun things that like, I feel like the universe is like playing with me, and I think that's so fun when that happens.
Yes, the playful nature is the best. And one of my favorite stories, because a lot of my manifestations, I mean, I do want to manifest physical things that I want. That happens too. But like often it's just this conversation, right? And one of the things that I have been sort of looking for in the world and like taking as a sign of this game that we play with the universe is disco balls. And the other day I asked this woman, I was like, are disco balls like back in style? Because I literally see them everywhere. And she was like, I don't think so. Like, is that a thing? And I was like, is it? Somebody tell me, is this a thing? Or
I'll have to take that as my new. So I do a little thing on Instagram where I like ask people like, what should I manifest next? And I don't have one right now, so I'll do disco balls.
Disco balls are fun.
Okay, I'll have to do that one.
Also, it happened, like, so it became a thing. I started seeing them all the time. I'd see them on my Instagram feed. I'd see, wherever. And there was this one day I was super grumpy, and my yoga instructor who I work with was like, hey, I'm doing this workshop. You've been holding off. Like, just come. Like, it's $40 freaking. You know you love what we do. You know you're going to love it. Just come. And it was like an hour or two later. And I was like, okay, I'm in. So I bought it like last minute. Drove down, like I was even maybe a couple minutes late because I was really not going to go. And then he gave me a bump and I was like, fine. And I hadn't been taking care of myself very well. I hadn't been doing that self-care, and things were pretty stressful. And so I walked into the studio, and it's an old nightclub that they had converted from the pandemic. It used to be a club, and now it's a rooftop yoga place. And I walked in, and the whole lobby was just dangling, dripping in disco balls. And I was like, whoa. And I legit just had this moment of like, I see you. Like,
so fun.
I needed this. Like, this is confirmation. Like, hey, don't forget to check in. Don't forget to love yourself. And it was a self-love themed thing. I was like, okay, I hear you. I see you.
It's so perfect.
So I want to be respectful of your time. So I have a couple last little questions.
Sure.
I work with the voice. That is my point of entry for all of my coaching, whether it be with actual singers or with, life coaching clients or people in their businesses, their small businesses. So I'd like, from your perspective and what you do, what does it mean to you to have a voice?
Oh my gosh, this is so funny because this is like something I've had to work through too. Is my whole life I've been told that I'm loud, right? Like just like random ass people will make me aware, and I'm like, I know, but which is why I do a lot of like podcasts. I do a lot of audio, and I also like I did theater when I was younger, and projecting was never a problem. And so, in the past couple of years, as I've been a coach, I really got this new perspective on my voice. So I was never like ashamed of it, but I kind of got this inner guidance that was just like, your voice is loud so that the people that need to hear you can hear you, right?
In the back.
Yes. And, it doesn't mean you have to yell at them, right? But like, I think speaking your truth, and whether that means writing or whether that means actual speaking, like, you just never know when it can make such a difference. I think of like, being in an office or in a meeting and like really wanting to say something, but then like not being afraid to speak up. Like when I think about that, I think of my gift as being unafraid to do that, because there's always someone else in the room who's having the same thought, right?
Absolutely.
And so if I can like, step through the fear to like say something, it doesn't only help me, it helps everyone else. And so I guess I just encourage people to play with that, to start small and to try, because the more you do it, the less scary it gets, and the more you get known for just being the one who's not afraid to say something.
Yes. So much good.
Yeah.
I also think the way that you manage your household has a voice, like your home speaks, and in your decluttering world, I think that like the way you keep your home and the way you manage that speaks very loudly. So
yeah,
I love that. Okay. So if you could give every woman in the world or female identifying body in the world a piece of advice, and that they would take it, what would it be?
Literally do whatever you want.
Oh, just so much fun.
Like literally do whatever you want. It's how I was talking to a friend one time about, they had like an icebreaker at one of her team meetings, and it was like, what would your hashtag be? And I was like, what would my hashtag be? I do what I want is what my hashtag would be. And I do not hurt people. Like people do not hate me. Like it will be okay. What you want is your connection to yourself, is connection to your inner desire, connection to God, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And it's not going to lead you to harm anyone else.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, last one. Finish this sentence. I hold a vision for the future where?
Where people love themselves so they can love other people and not be assholes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. So tell us, let's just stop being assholes to each other. That would be like a really great first step.
Start with not being an asshole to yourself. That's usually the problem.
Wow. You're right. You're 100% right. So, okay, tell everybody where they can follow you online. You mentioned a Facebook group, and we'll remind you guys that she's doing a manifestation class, like the education, the science, everything you need to know, with a big Q&A section on May 5th at 5 p.m. Central, correct?
Eastern.
Thank you. 5 p.m. Eastern. And I will make sure to have a link for that in all the comment sections and in the group. But where else can we interact with you? I know I want to spend time in your world. I'm just enjoying this so much. So.
Oh my gosh, totally. So I have a Facebook group, which is also where the workshop will happen. It's called Cozy and Connected with Charlotte Kaye.
Yes.
Kaye. I also have a podcast on there, so you're very welcome to come on the podcast. I would love that.
I love podcasting. It's so
awesome.
Fun.
I will send you info. And then I spend most of my time on Instagram, and that's at Charlotte Kaye Coach, again, Kaye. So yeah, where you can find me.
Thank you for your time. I just enjoyed this so thoroughly, and I'm so happy to connect with a like-hearted soul. And yeah, I think we'll say goodbye for today, but not forever. And make sure you guys go check out her manifestation class. I think maybe I'll enroll too, just for the hell of it, and come hang out. It sounds like a great time.
Yes. Hell yeah.
Right. Beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and play our outro, and I'll see everybody on the flip side.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much, Charlotte.
You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. And remember, if you did love what you received today, please be generous with it, share it out into the world, tag a friend who might want to hear it as well, and help me end up not in the spam folder of the internet, but rather in the hands and ears of somebody who could really use this and love it as much as we do. We're live every single Friday here on Facebook at 12 p.m. And there's an exclusive community you can join to get all the behind the scenes action. Link is in the comments below. I'll see you next week. Thank you so much.